Hey guys, it's me for another I Am Fun Size video, and I'm really excited because I'm bringing you another special guest today. One of my dearest friends, Caroline. And Caroline and I are going to go over some of the questions that you guys have sent us, and I wanted to get her take on a lot of these things because a lot of the things that they've asked about are things that you and I have talked about on a regular basis. Yes. Whether, you know, teary-eyed over brownies or happy-eyed over hikes. These socks, by the way, guys, I'm really sorry about these socks. It's laundry day. We're rocking some sexy socks today. So first of all, just so you get to know this lovely lady, can you talk a little bit about how you decided to become an actress, or when you decided to become? What was it? Yeah. What was it that spurred you on?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with a lot of creatives and did plays when I was little, but I went to college and I was a political science major and I minored in Chinese, and
How did I not know that?
Because I don't really talk much about it.
That's amazing.
Because I did those things, and they were very impressive. You know, things you could talk about.
Hold for talent. Just so you guys know, this is Petruchio, her beautiful puppy Petruchio from Taming of the Shrew, because she's an actress who won't let go of this squirrel.
Yeah, this is not your squirrel. Anyway,
but it's fine. It's really okay.
Charlie will try to be a part of this as much as possible. I don't know why he needs so much attention.
It's okay. We can say.
Anyway, so I did all of these things at college and in college, and I was not. It wasn't that I was unhappy, but I felt like I was living someone else's life. And I felt like I was kind of going through motions that weren't my motions. And I was sort of trying to do things. Here, you know what? There you go. I was sort of trying to do things that I thought everybody would be okay with. And there was this little voice that kept just going, and I would just be like, no, I'm not. I'm going to be a lawyer, and I'm going to be responsible, and I'm going to, you know, make a living, and I'm going to, you know, do it this way, and everyone will be fine with that. And fine is a terrible word. Yeah. And I tried really hard to do that, and then finally I actually call it coming out of my actor's closet, because it really did feel like that. And every sort of summer, I guess, I would secretly apply to acting schools for like summer programs, and then I would get in and I would just go, hey mom and dad, I'm just going to go do this thing, and they would go, sure, as if like, we know your secret, but we'll let you, tell us at some point. And then it was my junior spring at Vassar, and I was in line in the cafeteria, and the head of the drama department, Miss Cody, who I will always be grateful to, I tapped her on the shoulder and I said, hi, I'm Caroline, and I'm a poli-sci major, but what would it take to be a drama major at this point? She said, come to my office and we'll talk about it, and I did, and she said, you might need an extra semester to finish all of these credits up, because at the same time I was taking like 3 dance classes a day, which I wasn't getting credit for, but I probably would have been a dance major if I could have declared those as well. So I just thought, yeah, I really do want to finish this part of my education. So I took an extra semester, which, you know, a lot of people go to school for 7 years. They're called doctors.
It happens, though.
That's a line from Tommy Boy. I just want everyone
I want you to bow down to the superior comedy of Tommy Boy. What I love about that story, though, especially, is that a lot of people have written in asking, how do you know what you want to do? How did you know you wanted to be an actress? Because there have been some people saying, I really love to do this, but I feel like I can't, or I feel like I'm not talented enough, or whatever. So how did you know? And I think there isn't, at least for me, I don't remember any one specific moment that I knew. I just all of a sudden know that I didn't know, and then I knew. And you can stay there.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay, doggy butt. I just know that I didn't know, and then the universe started conspiring to send me into that direction a little bit more. Like for me, it was very similar to you, that I knew at a young age. I just didn't realize it was something I could actually do for a living.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think with that question, you just listen.
Yeah.
You listen, and that's one thing I've learned over the years is really important, and for people who are really successful in whatever they do, they listen, and it's not just listening to people and taking great advice. Although I have listened to her for a long time, and she's given great advice.
I've given opinions. I don't give advice. I give opinions. Just like Maggie Smith says in the Second Exotic Marigold Hotel. I don't give advice. I give opinions. That was a terrible Maggie Smith impression. It was awful. It's really it was bad. Let's bad. Sorry. I am so sorry, Dame Maggie Smith. That's not what I think you sound like.
But I think it's all about actually listening to yourself, and if you can try to do that. I teach yoga on the side, and it's such a different way of operating. So many times we're walking around the world just reacting to things, and our energy is kind of out there, and we're talking, and we're taking people in, and we're doing our thing, and we're doing the things we need to do. But very rarely do we sit down and just ask, and just let those answers come to us.
Right. And a lot of times when you're waiting for the answers, someone else will come in and tell you what their answer is. And then it's easy to gravitate towards that because everybody's got an opinion of what you should be doing.
Should. I was just about to say the should word.
Yes.
This dog, I love it.
Hi, Betty. He's a movie star. Now, how did you deal with then the change of expectations? Were there people who expected you to continue with your poli-sci studies? How did that? I mean, can you talk about what it was like to face the pressure potentially of people who weren't necessarily thrilled about your choice?
Yeah, there was a lot of worry in the beginning. I mean, my parents were rooting for me to be a successful person in the world, no matter what I did. And they've always been very supportive. But I think, there are paths that are safer than others. And I think they really wanted me to be okay. And so it wasn't a sense of, ready? It wasn't a sense of that they were like, oh God, what are you doing with your life? Though there are people who will do that a lot, and there still is, and as you know, there will be forever, if you choose a creative life, people will raise an eyebrow and judge. And part of the reason I really adore the TQ, thank you, I was right, okay, community is, it is so much about self-love, acceptance, and just thriving while honoring the way you are.
Yeah, I think also self-definition.
Self-definition.
Getting to
allowing
really
yourself to be who you are, and not having to fit into being a J. Crew model in your catalog. Not that anything's wrong with J. Crew, I love it, but
we're J. Crew models. They're beautiful.
But just not just allowing yourself, and I really find that with artists. I just heard a musician recently say, "Who cares?"
Yeah.
And you have to be strong enough to be able to do that. And there are days where I feel weaker in that way, and I worry about what people think and what people are saying.
That's when we have friends.
Yes,
and that's when we have people to remind you.
For me.
Well, and you've done it for me, and this is something also that's important. I think, again, speaking to what we've been talking about here in these videos, is part of enjoying your life and setting yourself up for not just success, but enjoying the journey to success, is surrounding yourself with people who expect the most of you, but support you in your smallest moments. They support you in those moments. Yeah. My man is the exact same way. He expects me to be the best me. He won't settle for me not being the best that I can be. But at moments when I'm at my worst, I'm loved and accepted. And that's what we should. That is love, and that's what I have from you. That's what I have from my family and the people that I've now chosen to keep in my inner circle. And we've all had experiences where we have chosen a relationship that we later discover, whether it's a love relationship or a friend relationship or a family relationship where we later discover that we don't have that kind of support. Sorry, we lost you. That we don't have that kind of support, or we don't have that kind of understanding of where our best is going to be different from day to day. It's going to be different when you're sick.
Yeah.
It's going to be different when you're going through some kind of tragedy in your life. It's going to be different on a Monday than it is on a Wednesday. It's just going to be different. But as long as we know that, like, I've never, ever, ever seen you take something on, whether it's a hike or a part or anything, where you aren't doing your best in that moment. I've never seen you be like, so I'm just going to suck today. Sorry, I totally cursed. I'm going to beep that out for the kiddies. But I've never seen you do that, and that's part of what's so attractive about you and about your life, is that you want to live it to the fullest. I mean, when she says she practices yoga on the side, we're talking about a woman who does like headstands on surfboards. Like, she knows what she's doing, and we should talk about someday the day that she tried to teach me to surf. Which is another fun thing that I like. I'm going to totally do a segue here, because someone asked in the email, someone asked, how do you deal with it when, you know, I really wanted to be an artist, or I wanted to be a stand-up comic, but when I sing, people die. And that was literally the words that were written, when I sing, people die. And the last time I tried stand-up, I was laughed off the stage, and I could never possibly do it again. So how do you handle that and keep moving on? And the way I say it is, whenever you start anything, you're going to be bad at it. Like, if I start some new skill, the chances of me being great at it immediately are pretty slim, you know? And sweet Caroline offered to take me on a surfing lesson, God love her, and I was great at paddling. I was like a killer paddler. And I sat on that surfboard really well. I sat and I balanced. And that's
what a lot of people do.
And that was the extent of that lesson. But just the fact that I tried it, and it wasn't a huge priority in my life going forward, so I didn't continue it, but the fact that I tried something new and I didn't die, never mind I was good at it, I didn't die, that alone is a deposit into the bank of I can do things. It's a deposit into the bank of I can handle challenges. And so every time you start something new, every time you try something new, whether it's a language or going to a class or going to some social event that makes you nervous, I feel like all you have to tell yourself is, all I have to do tonight is survive this. And I have deposited something into the bank of, I can do this. I've deposited something into the bank of, I can handle challenges. I am a strong person, whatever you want to call it. And every time you develop that skill, is just like a muscle, you know? So you can go back to stand-up comedy. Maybe you just need a mentor. Maybe you just need someone who can tell you, okay, these are why those jokes didn't work. It's not because you suck, it's because the technique was wrong. And that, again, is why you surround yourself. I surround myself with people I admire. I surround myself with really hot people that, no, I'm just kidding. I mean, she is really hot. But I surround myself with people that I find attractive here, because they are hungry for life, because they are leading a life that I admire, because I see the joy in her, and I see the way she grabs onto life, and I want that. I'm like, whatever she's got, I want some of that. And so that's another thing that people are going to think we're running like a dog sanctuary here.
There are dogs everywhere. Okay, you guys need to hang out over here.
Go play, little ones.
One thing I want to say about the trying is, and I'm sorry that somebody said that they died when you sang. That's rough. But who cares? If singing brings you joy, and you're working in that, kind of figuring out what kind of stuff you do like to sing, and there's a lift in you when you do it, you keep doing it. I don't know if I was a very good actor when I started. I don't know if I'm a very good actor now, but I think I feel something. I feel something quite right. And actually, it's so funny. I wrote myself a letter on my first opening night on my first equity show, and I found it 2 days ago. I hadn't read it since. It was for John Cariani's Almost Maine. And my God, I was so elated. And I was like, this is the best. Being out there, you know, on that stage, it was just the sweetest letter. And I read it and I was like, oh, yeah, that's why I kept going. And so I wanted to say about the trying thing. So I guess last year I got to teach 20 high school football players yoga. Yeah, it was awesome. And they all came in and I just thought, let's see what happens. And, you know, to their credit, they all tried. And there were a couple kids who just kind of sat there looking. And I said to them, I said, well, the thing about yoga is you don't have to be good at it. In fact, you wouldn't be doing yoga if you were great at it because then you wouldn't need to do it. But you do need to try. And I think that that's true with when you learn to surf. You know, most of the people I teach, I just say, oh, just paddle out there and just try. You know, it'll be a mess. There'll be a lot of water.
There was a lot of water. That's true. That was very true.
But just try. And I think that that's really just important to just keep going. People are very scared of trying when there's so much projected at us that's like beautiful and perfect.
Right. Well, and also we're scared of what it looks like to the rest of the world when we're not good at something. Like, oh, people will judge me. But again, if you're doing it for your joy of it, it's not about what other people think. And that's very easy to say because I still get scared. There are still, to this day, after being in this business for decades, there are still shows that I do where I will stand off stage and right before I go on, I think to myself, oh, Jesus, I should have been a doctor. Yeah. I should have been anything. I can't believe that I'm about to go on stage. This is ridiculous.
Every time.
And so, you know, it's easy for me to say, don't worry about what anyone thinks. But when it comes to trying new things, chances are nobody's actually judging you because they're all trying to kind of handle their own lives. And especially if you're going in for an audition, one thing that I've learned recently is that everybody really wants you to be good.
Oh, yeah.
They want you to be good. People actually do want you to succeed in the world.
And that's, yeah. And that's one thing, like with acting, with anything actually, and actually surfing. It came to mind when I learned when I was like 14, and then I didn't do it for years and years and years. And then I moved to Santa Monica, bought myself a surfboard, and my dog is singing in the background. Come here. And I basically would force myself to just go down to the beach every day with the surfboard and paddle out and kind of just sit there and figure it out. And sometimes I would just sit on my board, and sometimes I would try to ride some waves, and sometimes I would, you know, just paddle a lot. And every time I came out of the water, and there would be surfers there looking incredible, and sometimes I'd be alone, there were dolphins, it was fantastic. But every time I came out of there, I would force myself to say progress was made. Because there were so many voices in my mind going, oh, look at you. I mean, what are you doing? You look like a dead fish. And I just would go, no, I got into the water today, which is the hardest part, the cold, the whatever. Getting into your wetsuit and getting into the water is the hardest part. And I would just say, progress was made, because I did that. And I think that's true. Like, if you sing a song in public, progress was made, whether you were good or not. If you get in your car and go to an audition, progress was made. Whether you sucked in that audition or you were good in it, progress was made because you had a learning experience. And I think that that's really true in the creative world.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, every artist just fails and fails and fails and fails until they don't.
Yep. And my cousin, my cousin Raj, who is an extraordinary concert pianist, and also just one of the greatest humans on the planet. He, I remember coming home from an audition one day and saying to him, "Oh my God, that was just the worst audition." He said, "Well, the good news is, as your acting gets better, your worst gets better too. So your worst today was probably pretty good because your best is awesome."
That's great.
And to remember that it's not like your worst stays your worst and you get better over here. So the continuum, like it's this huge spectrum. It's the whole thing moves up.
Yeah.
So that's also very exciting when you make progress.
Peter Pet cleavage.
It's on now. Hey guys.